Many times, people forget that UFOs come in all sizes and shapes. Too often, it is assumed craft are mid to large size and are being operated by aliens a size comparable to human beings. In today's episode, we will examine a unique story from Japan. It is truly special in that it involves a craft just inches in size. UFOs descending on Earth in this size raise all sorts of fascinating questions, such as, are they merely probes? Would we even be able to see them up in the sky? As we will see though, something small can still be something extremely advanced. In late August 1972, just outside Kochi City in Japan, Michio Seo, a 13-year-old, was on his way home from school when he spotted an incredible metallic object hovering over a rice field. The shocked Seo watched the odd craft zip back and forth, quickly changing directions at high speeds. The UFO was small, very small, being only about 8 inches wide and maybe 4 inches in height. The top of the UFO had a silver hat while the bottom was flat. Although he was somewhat afraid, he was fascinated by the object and began to approach it. However, before Seo could get too close, the UFO allegedly shot a blinding beam at him. Seo, not wanting to further provoke the UFO, ran away. Once Seo got back to Kera, he quickly rounded up 4 of his best friends: Hiroshi Mori, Yasuo Fujimoto, Katsuko Kojima, and a friend known only as Yuji. He told them about his incredible encounter. His friends were skeptical, although intrigued, and they decided to go out and find this tiny UFO. The friends went to the rice field and arrived at about 7 p.m. The boys waited about an hour or so, when finally, shocking everyone except Seo, the small object returned. The bewildered teens stared at the strange object that was hovering over the field approximately 60 feet away. As the sun set, it would begin to change colors, pulsating a multicolored light. One of the teens began to follow the floating UFO, and as he got close, the object suddenly emitted a deafening pop and began to shimmer blue. Scared, the teens took off home. The boys would occasionally visit the field following their sighting the next week. Then, on September 4th, they spotted it again. Around 9:30 p.m., the 5 young men once again spotted the object flying nearly 3 feet above the field. It started glowing and began to hover toward the teens, causing them to scatter and once again flee home. Once home, the boys decided to go back, but this time bring a camera. They were determined to get a photo, but that evening, the object did not return. Then, on September 6th, they spotted the object lying on the ground in the middle of the field before them. The teenagers wisely decided to snap a photo before they approached the resting craft. However, once the flash went off, the object began spinning and rapidly rose into the air. The boys were able to get another photo just after it lifted off. But that would not be for long, as the object retreated back to the dirt. The object was still spinning and seemed to be digging itself into the ground when it stopped moving. Then, 14-year-old Hiroshi Mori cautiously moved toward the flying saucer. Mori then decided to bend over and lift the object up with his bare hands. As he did so, strangely he claimed he felt something moving inside the object. A photo of Miro holding the UFO was then taken. The boys stared at the odd craft for some time before Miro wrapped it in a plastic bag, placed it in his backpack, and took it home. Once there, the boys measured the object and estimated it to be nearly 8 inches wide, almost 4 inches in height, and weighing about 3 pounds. There was no visible propulsion system. They also discovered a series of concentric curves, 31 small holes, and 3 unique designs carved into the base of the object. After looking at it more closely, the boys repacked the object in plastic and brought it to the home of Yasuo Fujimoto. Yasuo's father was the director of the Center for Science Education in the city of Kochi. His father studied the object and carelessly said that the finding was of little significance. Later, though, that would be a decision he admittedly would come to regret. The boys then packed up the object, and mysteriously, it would disappear a day later. The next 2 weeks, multiple sightings would occur, and the group even managed to recover it again. However, like before, it seemingly disappeared into thin air. Somewhat frustrated after losing it again, the boys brainstormed what they could do to capture it again. After some time, the boys hypothesized that the object didn't like water and feared it. So, on September 19th, they once again returned to the field. This time the boys had a bucket of water and some rags. Luckily, they found the device sitting motionless on the ground. Quickly, the group covered the object with rags and poured the water from the bucket over it. They then turned the object over and started to fill the perforations at the base with the rest of the greenish water. Once the water entered into the craft, it began emitting a deafening noise, similar to a cicada, and the object also started to glow. The craft remained grounded, and the group took it once again. This time the group would study the craft more intensely. At Katsuko Kujima's house, they looked through the tiny holes and noticed what appeared to be miniature levers and weird drawings. They then took more photos and attempted to open the device by inserting a wire into one of the holes. Eventually, they were able to pull the top and bottom sections slightly apart and could see what they described as complicated electronic equipment. There was also some sort of liquid that some believe is the liquefied remains of the pilot. The object's shell was extremely tough, and the boys tried hammering it, and it didn't bend in the slightest or even scratch, even the thinnest parts. After several more experiments, the object was then given to Seo and Mori to watch. As they read their comic books, they were confident the object was safe with them. However, later that night, when everyone else returned, they were all upset to discover that beneath the pile of rags, there was nothing to be found. The boys had lost and found the object so many times by this point, they assumed that if it vanished, it would just turn up again near the field. Finally, the boys concocted a plan to put it in a plastic bag with water and take it into the city. After traveling on their bicycles, one of the boys holding the bag would feel a sharp tug, and then as the boys stopped, they realized it had disappeared yet once again. In 2007, a full 35 years after the events in question, Shiniko Namiki, the director of the Japan Space Phenomena Society, reopened the investigation into the story that had started getting attention in UFO circles in 2004. The head of the JSPS Osaka chapter, Kazuo Hayashi, was sent to speak with the remaining witnesses, and all confirmed the stories to be 100% accurate. with 5 witnesses to this event and all remaining steadfast in their story. It seems completely plausible that these events occurred. Furthermore, honor is an important aspect of Japanese culture, so it seems unlikely that all 5 would agree to lie. That said, this story raises lots of questions surrounding tiny UFOs. While not perceived as really threatening at first, it could be possible these objects are probes that are sent to Earth to investigate and report back. If that's the case, the question is, to whom and what are they looking for? There's also the matter of these small objects being able to camouflage themselves easily. This may present more opportunities to gather information than having regular sized ships. Still, all of this is conjecture, as we can only speculate what this intelligence may want and what our governments know about them right now.